Hi, my name is Tom Van Dyke. I'm a strategic partner for founder-led businesses, and I wanted to talk to you about something that makes a lot of it's out there in marketing quite a bit. This whole thing of clarity. I think we should outlaw the word clarity already, because clarity is overused in my opinion. Now, is it important? Absolutely, it's important. I just think we need to kind of reframe how we talk about it. Today, I want to talk to you though about something really important, and that is that clarity doesn't actually close. And so while clarity is important and we need to start with clarity, clarity is not the thing that actually gets the sale for the person who's trying for the business that's trying to sell you something. And I want to tell you why. It's part of something I do with my clients called narrative messaging, and I call it narrative messaging in 3 acts. I want to walk you through those 3 acts, how they develop clarity, how they work, and that kind of thing. But then I want to show you how I build on top of that with narrative messaging so that it becomes more powerful to actually close deals, not just clarify what you do. So let's get into this. The first thing you need to know is that confused buyers don't buy. They just won't. So this is true. People need to understand what you do, how you do it, how they can get it. It needs to be really, really clear. And it's even more important if you're in a service category like fractionals or marketing, differentiating yourself. It's very hard. It's less hard if somebody needs an HVAC company in there because their furnace went overnight or something like that. But you have to still be clear. You have to be extremely clear in what you do. There's proof too. Clarity actually pays. These are statistics that I've gotten through research that I've done. They can all be backed up. I can give you the citations if you really want, but they say that 10 to 25% of you'll have a 10 to 25% shorter sales cycle than your category averages if you have clarified messaging, very, very clear messaging. You'll have 15 to 30% lower customer acquisition costs. You'll have 25 to 33% better performance if your website is built with a story-based outline rather than just, SEO dynamics. And you'll have a 10 to 23% gain in revenue from consistent brand presentation. So this is just true across the board. If you're not clear, you're in big trouble. Confusion is a big problem. And you want clarity so that people can get to the answer, the solution to their problem faster and easier. That's why you want it. Now, the way that I arrive at clarity is by talking about life happening in 3 acts. Okay, so life happens in 3 acts. And I want to walk you through those acts. And when you see them, you're going to understand how, if you apply that to your marketing, your messaging, your sales, it's going to really help. The first act is disruption. Disruption is when somebody finds out that they are in a hole, they're in a pit, and they can't get out of it. That's called disruption. The next act is confrontation. This is where elder sage, I like to call them, the heroes in the hole, the elder sage shows up and confronts you with the truth. Now, one of my good friends challenged me on this. She said she didn't like the word confrontation, felt too angry. I said, well, I guess you could use the word invitation. So this is where the elder sage shows up and invites you into the third act. Confrontation, that's what I'm going to continue to use, but you could use invitation as well. And then you get into the third act, which is transformation. Transformation is where the magic happens. All right, so those 3 acts again are disruption, confrontation / invitation, and transformation. In Harry Potter, you find this all the time, or you'll see this, right? In fact, it happens many times over and over again. There's a disruption, then one of the older characters shows up, offers a way out, and then there's a transformation that happens in the character. At the beginning of the story, Harry's in this pit. I mean, it's literally underneath the stairs, right? Hagrid shows up, offers him a ladder out of that pit, and says, "I can bring you to Hogwarts." Now, Harry didn't have to say yes, but he did, and he experienced a great transformation. It just took like 6 movies to get there. You think about Cinderella. Cinderella is in the basement. She is in a pit. She's stuck. She's overwhelmed. She can't get out. She's held captive by the evil stepmother. And then what happens is the fairy godmother shows up and she offers her a ladder, a way to get out and get to the ball. And what is the result? The transformation? She becomes the princess to the Prince Charming. So this happens over and over and over again all the time. And it might happen in different ways, but you are living in this. And so if we were to take this now to marketing, your customers are also living with this. And this is a pattern that they actually recognize from their own lives. So, disruption. There's three questions that dictate how we clarify each act for our marketing. The first three questions are: what does your customer want? Why can't they get it? And how does that make them feel? So, why are they in the hole in the first place? How did they get there? Why can't they get out of the hole? And how do they feel about being in the hole? It could be they're hungry. It could be that their kids are a mess. Actually, that's a really good one. So, what do they want? They want peaceful meals. Why can't they get it? Because their kids are like little orangutans and are wild and chaotic all the time. How does that make the parent feel? Well, it makes them feel kind of chaotic themselves, maybe angry, maybe a bit embarrassed to go out in public. All of these things. Those are the questions that will clarify Act One, which is disruption, the thing that's disrupting your customers or your client's life. Then we go to confrontation. This is where I used to be a pastor, so I worked a lot with parents. This is where I show up as the parent coach. And I want to show them that I can answer these three questions. The three questions are this: how does their brand show that it understands the pain that they're in that hole? Why should your customer trust you? Like, what kind of authority do you even have to speak to this? And what is your solution? How does it work? Okay, so let me spell this out. As the parent coach, I understand because I have 7 kids myself and a grandchild and a daughter-in-law and somebody else who's engaged to my daughter. And we've had 30 foster kids. I understand it. But not only that, I worked with thousands of parents when I was a pastor. Our weekend ministries, we had 1,500 kids. So that's why you should trust me. Not only have I experienced the chaos in my own home, I've worked with thousands and thousands of families. Now, what does my solution look like? It's really simple. Step one, you got to read this great book. It's called The Whole Brain Child. I'm not in any way affiliated with The Whole Brain Child or Dr. Dan Siegel. I just know that it's a really good book. You read that. Once you've read it, you bring it to me as the parent coach in our fictitious example right now, and then we will look at it together and come up with a solution for your particular family. Then we go to transformation. What will it look like after? Well, you're probably going to get through a meal without your food being thrown against the wall. You'll probably feel like you love your kids a little bit more. Well, maybe you always loved them, but you didn't like them. Now you're going to start to like your kids more. Now, what does it cost staying stuck? Because there's always a cost to not doing business with us. So it's true. You have to hire me as a parent coach in my fictitious example here. And there's a cost to not hiring me. You're going to live in chaos for the rest of your life until those kids leave home or are booted out or arrested by the law. That's very extreme. It could just look like you're going to be tired. It's going to be a lot of anxiety. It's going to be people don't want to come over because your kids are always bouncing off the walls. That's the cost of staying stuck. Now, what's the first step to getting unstuck? I'm so glad you asked. Just book a call with me. I'll tell you what you need to do, what book to read, and how we'll go about transforming your family. That's Act 3. That's transformation. So these 3 acts with 3 different questions are really critical then. Act number 1, what does your customer want? Number 2, why can't they get it? Number 3, how does it make them feel? Then we confront them with the truth. How does your brand show that they understand? Empathy. Why should your customer trust you? That's kind of authority. And what is your solution and how does it work out? Then we answer, what does life look like after you've hired us? As well as what does it cost to stay stuck? And what is the first step? Just the first step. That's how we clarify our marketing. Now, your customer is in a hole right now. They might be like this woman. She's late for work. She doesn't have any time to make a healthy meal, but you can see she's very concerned about her fitness. And so what does she do? She buys or she takes out of the fridge a prepackaged, pre-made protein shake. It probably cost her more money than if she had done it herself, but it's convenient. And what's the transformation? She's going to get to work on time and she's going to look good in front of her boss. Something a little bit more emotional. You have a couple. They're disrupted. There's been an argument. It's been months, if not years, of the same argument. They don't know what to do. So they finally allow themselves to step into a room with a counselor. The marriage counselor confronts them with truth, things that they need to work on in their own lives. And what's the result of that confrontation? They apply it, and now their marriage is transformed. They're able to move on into their happy sunset as an elderly couple. Stage 1, disrupted. Stage 2, confronted, invited into transformation. And then the last scene is where they're actually transformed. Now, this is what narrative messaging gets you. Clarity, tremendous clarity. If you're familiar with a company called StoryBrand, I've been certified with them for 6 years. They're an excellent framework for getting clarity in your marketing and your messaging so that you just show up and you can say exactly who you are and what you do. This is the problem. Clarity gets you considered, it doesn't get you chosen. And this stat kind of blew my mind. Only 14% of B2B buyers pay a premium on business value alone. Only 14%. Now, I chose B2B buyers because B2B is kind of more complicated than B2C. B2C, which is business to customer, is kind of simple, right? Like if I go to the store and I see Pepsi and Coke, I'm going to buy Pepsi because I like the taste better. If there's only Coke, I'll buy that though because I want either one of them, right? It's kind of simple. It's clear. It's not hard to choose, right? But if you're talking, this is specifically about B2B brands. Only 14% of B2B buyers pay a premium on business value. That's like you're hiring a new bookkeeper and you're only going to hire that. You don't care about the fact that she's a great bookkeeper. You need something more than that. Now, this is what you need. In B2B, personal value drives the decision. If you can attach personal value to the sale and the marketing, they're 50% more likely to buy when they see it. They're 8 times more likely to pay a premium. So if you're a bookkeeper, you want to pay attention to this. This is really, really important. This takes communicating the transformation. That's where the emotional connection comes from. The way we communicate the transformation is that we have to talk about 2 different things that are happening between the 2 main characters of the story that we're writing. You have a hero who's in a hole and an elder sage that comes along with the advice and the wisdom to get out of that hole. The hero is your client. Now, the interesting thing is your hero has a wound. So it's not just that they're afraid of being late for work. It's that they're embarrassed because they have this deep wound of needing to like show up on time. And they have this trauma from their childhood, when their dad said, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're already 10 minutes later, stuff like that, There's a wound there. If you can learn what the wound is of the hero and speak directly to it, your marketing is going to go on fire. Your sales is going to pick up. But there's another piece of the dialogue because the dialogue's happening between the hero and the elder. And the elder who's looking over the edge of the pit into the hole below also has a voice. And if they can use the specific voice that speaks to the wound, that person is going to be invited into transformation. Now, how does this actually look? Well, there are 8 buyer personas. These are mine. I've created them. They're not based in scholarly research or anything like that. I think they're very good and they do make sense to me. But there's 8 of them. There's 8 types of heroes with 8 types of wounds. One of those heroes is called the visionary hero. All right? Now, the visionary, he has all of these ideas and he feels alone with his ideas. He wants to get them out, but he doesn't know how to get them out. So his wound is, I'm always alone in my vision. I'm always alone in my vision. If I'm a business coach, I can speak directly to that. I know how lonely it is to be at the top, right? And now I'm speaking directly to that wound of being alone. That's the visionary. The other type that I'm just going to use as an example out of the 8 is the champion. Now, the champion, she works harder than everyone else. She has the results that show it, but she's hit a ceiling. And she doesn't know how to overcome that ceiling on her own. If I know that as her business coach, I can speak directly to it. I know how hard it is when you've performed at a high pace. You've really shown yourself to be very good at your job, and then you hit a ceiling. And you just don't know how to overcome that thing. You're working harder than everyone else. The results show it, but you can't get past it. You can't get past your own personal good. Or your own personal best. That's her wound. And if I speak to that, I'm going to attract her into my solution. That's the hero. That's the customer. There's 8 different kinds of personas. It's kind of like a buyer persona, but it looks more at psychodynamics than demographics. Then we have the elder. Now, in what I did was I took brand archetypes, which are really well documented. Carol Pearson has written a book on it. It's very, very good. The Hero of a Thousand Faces. I think that's Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey. There's lots of work that's been done on these 12 archetypes. I'm just giving it a little bit of a nuance that fits my brand. So I talk about the elder and the elder's voice. But if you know what your voice is and you know what the wound is of the person you're trying to sell to, you're going to have a dialogue that really, really connects. So it's very important for you to understand this. Now, just a few little teaching things about brand archetypes. When you are a solopreneur like me, your brand archetype is going to reflect your personality a lot. If you have a huge manufacturing company, the brand does not, if that manufacturing company was an actual person, that personality wouldn't necessarily be the personality of the founder. So you have to think about who would the personality, if your company was an actual person, how would they show up? How would they dress? How would they speak? That's the archetype that we're talking about. And by the way, I have an assessment that I'm going to share with you at the end of this video that you can go and look at on my website to help you sort of identify what your elder voice should be. That dialogue between the voice of an elder and the wound of a hero creates a dialogue of transformation and this incredible emotional connection. And remember, I said that B2B leaders are far more likely to buy when they see the personal value. This is what we're talking about. It's about using the language that creates an emotional connection. When you have an emotional connection, you're going to get a 306% higher lifetime value from that client. Either they're going to retain you longer, they're going to buy something else from you or buy something more from you, or they're going to be so happy in how you've helped them overcome that they're going to talk about you to their friends, and they're going to now refer you on. All of those are ways that you increase the lifetime value of a client. All of them are going to happen more when you have a true emotional connection. You will have a greater emotional connection when you understand who you are as a brand and a company and which wound your hero has. Emotional connection, check. Now, we have clarity through narrative messaging, and now we have emotional connection through narrative messaging. The last piece is this. You need to understand the function of messaging and how it adapts to the situation. And I have one example for you. This is the example. The two functions of this kind of messaging that I'm talking about happen when the elder throws the ladder down into the hole and says, this is the solution to getting out of the pit, out of the hole to the hero. Okay, there's two different things that are going on here. One is in marketing and the other is in sales. Let's look at marketing first. In marketing, this messaging framework, what it does is it lowers friction for your customers so that it's easier for them to do business with you. So you think about a really passive asset like your website, okay? When the narrative messaging on your website, it looks like, how do we do business together? It's as easy as 3 simple steps. Step 1, book a call. Step 2, blah, blah, blah. Step 3, transform. Or it could be step 1, download our demo. Step 3, use our actual product. Step 4, experience the transformation of using some sort of financial bookkeeping software. It's step 1, 2, 3. It just reduces the friction so that the hero understands what the next step is in the process of doing business with you. That's marketing. Okay. That's very static. It's very low commitment. Sales is different. Exactly the same part of the story, but now the hero is not on the website. They're in a sales conversation with you. Now we use something called the benefit ladder. It's not just a ladder that's 3 simple steps to doing business together. It's a benefit ladder, which talks about why you should buy my product. And the benefit ladder looks something like this. There's the product attributes. Okay, so if we're talking about a car goes fast. It gets you from here to there. If it's an electric car, you have to plug it in, and then you don't have to pay for gas. You just have to pay a lot more for electricity. So that's the product attributes. It's what it is, what is in the box. That's it. Very few people buy based on product attributes. Then you get to the functional attributes. This car will get you there faster, for cheaper. It's a sports car, but it has 4 seats, not 2, so you can actually look cool with kids in the back, right? Like, those are functional attributes. It's got more space, it's got more speed, it's got more environmental, it's kinder to the environment, all of these things. Those are some people will buy based on the functional attributes, but most people will buy on the emotional benefits, which is you're gonna look amazing in this car. If you do not have a family yet, you're going to have a family when you start driving this car because everybody's going to want to marry you. You're going to have status. You're going to have all of these things. So those are emotional benefits. You're going to feel courage, right? This is a very different ladder than the ladder that is just a plan. And what you need to understand is that there's different places we adapt the story in different ways at different places. And that's really, really important to keep in mind when you think about the story that your company is trying to tell. So we learn then how to drive action. So we've created clarity, we've created an emotional connection, and now we know how to drive action because we use it in the appropriate way and we adapt as we go. Here's what we have. Number 1, we have clarity in 3 acts. Number 2, emotional connection, the elder speaking in the direction of the wounds of the hero. And number 3, we're driving action by turning the plan into a benefit ladder. This is just some of the ways that we use narrative messaging to improve the clarity and the power and the efficiency of our marketing and sales. And you know what? As you think about it, I'm willing to bet this is a thought that you have. It feels complicated. And guess what? It is complicated. Look, I know that many people are looking for a quick fix right now. That simple foundational formula that you can build a business on. Whenever you get a book that says something simple, made simple, made simple, made simple, nothing wrong with it. But you have to understand that that's foundational. Just this morning, I was talking with a client. Actually, we were in a meeting. There was a lot of other staff there. And they were talking about where their revenue was going this year and that it was going better. And the first quarter of the year felt really down. And the client made the point, he says, I don't know why it was down. It just was down at the beginning of the year. And then he said this to the room. He says, I want everyone to understand. When you put a business plan on paper, it just looks so easy. It's simple. And then you get into real life and it is nothing but. It is complicated. It's complicated because you're in the real world. You have real relationships that you're trying to maintain and foster and nurture. And it feels very complicated. And I want that to sit with the people who are listening to this, because if I believe anything, it's that there is no one size fits all. There is no proven process that is going to fix every problem that you have in business. And there's no formula for success. There are good principles that we build our business on. That's why when I built narrative messaging, I wanted it to be flexible. My feeling is that the only framework that is right for you is the framework that you build. So I would say we should burn the one size clarifies all blueprint. There's no such thing as that. Let's burn that blueprint. Let's get rid of it. The blueprint or the framework that I'm interested in is the one that I help you create that makes sense in your business. And I really do want to help you do that. Now, I have a couple of assessments that you can do. One is to help you find your elder voice. It's very short. It's not super comprehensive, so it might not feel right. You might need to use your brain and tweak it a little bit. And then the other one is to understand your customer, your hero a little bit better and what wounds they might have. Those are both at that QR code on my website. You can go to get them right now. What I would recommend you do is both assessments. There's 7 questions and 8 questions. They're not long. Read it over, and then once you've read it over, the results, download the guide that I have right there and read that. You'll see all of the other archetypes. Maybe one will resonate a little bit better. No problem. You're allowed to shift it. But you don't want to read the guide before you do the assessments because it will bias you. You'll think differently about the questions that it's asking. So do the assessments, download the guide. Now, the other thing that you might want to do is implement this with your business. Then I would love to get on a call with you and talk about whether that would be appropriate and the right step for you next. So we could book a consulting hour. You can book a discovery call first and we can decide if a consulting is worthwhile. Now, if you are, say, in a marketing position, or if you're a CRO or something like that, and you want to talk about using this with your clients, I'm happy to do that as well. You just need to email me. My email is there, thom@thomvandyke.com. Email me, let me know that you saw this video and that you want to book a consultation, or you want to book a call to discuss whether a consultation is right for you. Either way, this is part of a webinar series that I do called Burn the Blueprint. We meet most Wednesdays, and you can find the whole calendar in the notes around this episode on my website. And I hope that you'll join us live for the next Burn the Blueprint webinar. Thanks so much.